So let me start off with what I really enjoyed about Black Adam. The movie's action, I gotta say, is pretty stellar, and there's a whole lot of it. I would say at least 70% of this movie is action, whether it be in people fighting, whether it be slow motion, whether it be in electricity flying in the air. There's a whole lot of it, and it never gets old, which is kind of an amazing thing. For this movie to be 2 hours long, the majority of it being action, you feel like it would get stale after a while, but no, it keeps a way of being reinventive in its own right, and it makes for a really fun time. Like, if you are in the mood to go to a movie and you're just like, I want as much action as I possibly can, this movie is definitely it, because there's just a plethora of it. And because of that, it really makes this movie a genuinely fun time, because there's almost always something going on. You're never really lulled to sleep, and it really makes the pacing in this movie quite effective. Anytime movies are above 2 hours, at least for myself, I always kind of think, all right, I hope this movie's pacing doesn't suck. And this movie does a great job of not being boring, but being above 2 hours, which is, I think, critically important. If your movie's on the longer side of runtimes, you don't want to bore your audience, you don't want to make things feel stale. Black Adam does a great job of balancing that out really well. And it also helps when you've got really great leads in the movie. Of course, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson crushes it. This is bread and butter as an action star, and then you've got some great supporting characters, and Pierce Brosnan especially, but also Aldous Hodge. I think the two of them bring something to this movie that was needed when you need a little bit of variety in the characters that you're seeing on screen, because without Aldous Hodge and Pierce Brosnan in this movie, all you would see is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which after 2 hours, I think might get a little stale, but I think with having Aldous Hodge and Pierce Brosnan, you bring some balance to the movie. Their characters were very different. It introduced some philosophical differences in the overall story, which made it a little bit more interesting. And their performances, I thought, were really stellar. It just really made the movie, I think, at an elevated level than what it would have been otherwise. And it's not to say that Dwayne Johnson didn't carry this movie or isn't capable of carrying this movie, but it's nice to add a little bit of variety into your films, and I think that Pierce Brosnan and Aldous Hodge provided that here. And additionally, although this kind of strayed from the movie's typical cadence, it does introduce some interesting philosophical questions about the nature of right and wrong, even if they're just brief shining moments in the movie. Within some of the dialogue, some comments are made around that vein, and I thought to myself that it was pretty interesting to introduce in the movie. And like I said, it's very brief moments because most of this movie is action. However, I just really like that little additive bonus in there to really make this movie just slightly different. I found myself asking my own questions just based on these little bits of dialogue. I really appreciated it for that.